Everyone races differently. Everyone has different strategies. And sometimes, look, we got cameras on bikes now, and people say, what should I have done? Mark Tucker asked that very question. What should I have done at the Chowchilla Crit? I'm going to look at the video. I'm going to review it. And we're going to tell exactly what Mark should have done, like I would know. But we'll just give some friendly insight. And maybe do a little comparison with the Shaun Bagley camera on his bike for the same one. Welcome, everybody, to the Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 236. It's a Friday. I'm sorry. It's early. I'm just going to post this out real quick. I'd love to do a whole Giro review or analysis or preview show. The problem I have, though, is when my third oldest child, I have four. She's taking her driver's test today, and so I'm going to get there to get the car for her because she likes mine. So she's going to take it, and then we got three kids driving. Yeah. Big weekend ahead. Son supposedly flying in to see me, and anyway, big things. A lot of stuff on tap. I have work, so it's early. It's what time was it here? It's 10:52, so I got just a little bit of time. Maybe we'll walk through a little bit about what the race is coming up and do a little talk about some of the stuff that we've had. Volta Algarve, I know, is happening. A little boring there for me, but the Giro is happening, and everyone should be super excited about the Giro coming up tomorrow. We've got let's take a look at what do we have here? It starts on Saturday in Torino. We talked about that last time. A little northeastern corner up there. We're doing an individual time trial. It's not called the prologue. It's called the time trial. It's going to be 9 kilometers, pretty flat. Who's going to win it? I don't know. I'll have to do a show based on that at some point as well. But this is what I say. But we're going to talk this week just about a bike race. So we had Masters racing happening over in Chowchilla. Let's take a look at Mark Tucker has a video here, and he posted on, it's like 14 minutes. He does like the last 6 laps. We can go back a little bit. Let's see at the 726. He is right in the front of the field with like 6 or so laps to go. I think we'll mute his volume, and he has got Sayers on his wheel. He's riding out front. If you've ever seen this course, this section here where they're at right here, it's the bottom corner, and they take it into the last, and it's kind of everything's headwind except for one little section here. So I think at some point, I think it's on the next lap here, like 5 to go. There's already one gentleman up the front. Mark's riding the front a lot. Sayers is doing the thing where he just saves energy. That's kind of key. But here, Tucker just moves some separation, and he gets on up the road, puts out some nasty watts, and it takes him about a lap to catch the guy up front. Now, this guy up front, he's hanging on for dear life most of the rest of the race, and obviously pretty strong to be out there. So, Mark, I'm going to click through here just to kind of get to the spot that I want to watch here. There's some lapped riders out here. So this is a lapped rider that he's going past. I think that some of the women had gone in a split field with them. So look at that. 4 laps to go. Just missed the card here. Let's see if we go back here. And you can see it. 4 laps to go. 4 laps to go. There's one rider up front. There's a field behind, and Mark Tucker makes a huge move to catch up to the gentleman up the road. And he does so right about, there's the guy up there, lets him know, and it's right about a lap from where he took off in this back section here, this long, if you look down at the bottom left here, the course on this section here, this is about where Mark took off a lap ago. So what we don't know going on behind is that Mike Sayers decides that this is a winning move. Remember, we just saw 4 laps to go there. And so at 4 laps, Mike takes off, and it takes him about a lap, I think, or so, to actually, you can see from the rear camera. So we got 3 laps to go, 3 laps to go. And you don't see anybody approaching from behind. We're like, boom. Then there's Mike Sayers closing very quickly. Now, Mike has a kick on him. If you don't know Mike Sayers, he's a former pro. He races in the Masters with us now. He do some P12 races as well. He doesn't do a ton of training from what he did before, but the guy is always fit, and he's always dangerous, and he's always willing to do this, get in a break and push it. So he catches up. Now, you've got a few things here to keep in mind. What are your strengths of these riders? Well, this rider out front here, I'm not sure who he is. He had been out there all day. He's a little bit withered compared to these other guys. And so I don't know him, but what's Mark Tucker's strength compared to Mike Sayers? And I've just seen I know I've raced against Mike, and I have a decent sprint. I've been able to pip him a few times. He's beat us. Then he goes against our number one sprinter, John Novikov, and John can really sprint and does well. And Mike sprints well. Okay. Especially in the Masters field. He knows how to place himself. So I would say that's his key strength. Mike Sayers' key strength is the sprint. And then compared to Mark Tucker, Mark, I don't know if you sprint as good as some of the other riders, but you definitely are a breakaway rider. Okay. So we've seen you win on that. If it's a small break, you probably can beat, it's a gentleman that's yo-yoing off the back. Mike Sayers, in this point, you're going to come with 2 laps to go. He said, shook his head. Now I talked to Mike actually, and he said that Mark gave him a lot of trouble in some of these wind sections, either catching up to him or on in the section. In fact, Mark's on the front here doing a lot of work. 3 to go. Now they inevitably stay away. Okay. So with the stay away in mind, so coming up here, 2 to go. 2 to go. What should be play to your strengths, right? And also, what do you have behind you? Now, Mark does have teammates behind him that I think they sprint pretty good. And we're going to see in Bagley's video here. Those guys are out leading the charge. They're not going to catch them, but they're at least doing a lead out. So you got some sprinters. So you start to play these games, which is, do I go all in and just guarantee myself a podium spot from Mark Tucker's point of view, or any of these others? Sayers has no teammates. He's all in. He needs to go all in. Now, he can also say, look, if we get caught and I haven't done too much work, I can sprint when the group catches me. That's a little bit more risky. It's better to go 1 out of 3 here. Your chances of winning are much higher than getting caught. But Mike Sayers is willing to put that on the line, I would imagine, here to kind of risk it. Now, so should Tucker put that on the line? His chances are not as high as Mike Sayers of winning here. He bridged up just like Mike did. So they both had to expend that amount of energy. Who has been saving the most energy in the field up to this point? I would venture to guess Mike Sayers has been doing a little less work all along, and we'd have to watch the whole video. I'm just saying, Mark Tucker, that's something to work on, conserving energy and only using it when you actually need to, rather than being on the front just because you're one of the strongest guys. 2 laps to go here. So that starts to play into it. Let's watch. Now, what Mark's concerned, if you listen to, and I hadn't watched this before, so I just decided to check this out, and I was clicking through a little bit. He seemed to be concerned about the riders behind. Totally understandable. And we'll see here at the end, that was actually somewhat justified. So then when you ask, what should I have done? It depends what your goal is. Is your goal to get second place, to get third place, or to win? And if it's to win, then I would say you're going to have to perhaps not do as much work on the front, force Sayers to do more, and maybe he's going to be more concerned about. But if you're doing the work, then he's just going to sit there. He's not going to be forced to come around as much as you might want him to. Okay, so we got 2 laps to go here. This other gentleman, you can see at some points he gets gapped a little bit. And Mark actually made, like I said, I was clicking through and I just showed a few comments. Okay, so Sayers does take this. This is the one tailwind section. So Sayers is doing some smart things. He's working on the front in the tailwind section, and then being able to get on and sit on in the windy sections where Mark was able to take control. And although Mark can make you hurt on those things, you're actually probably getting a much better benefit on the tailwind sections than you would be on the others. Now, look, you're going 25 miles an hour here on the tailwind. How much work is Sayers going to be doing? Well, let's see when they have a little bit of a gap. So my suggestion here would be, once again, play to your strengths. And what are your strengths? Sayers' strength is probably closing down a move and jumping from in a sprint. Okay. Tucker's is more likely in a breakaway and creating some separation. If you're going to sit out front and hurt and let them sit on, maybe at some point, I think Tucker, and this is what it would be my suggestion, is you needed to make some moves from this front group to try to get away. What would be the worst? Worst is they catch you and they beat you in the sprint, which is what you're going to do. But that is your strength, is to move away. So don't just think, okay, I'm in the breakaway. Now I'm just going to go the heads up. I'm going to take it to the line and make sure we break from those people. No, your new move, I would suggest, Mark, is to disrupt this group. One, get rid of this other guy. So Sayers doesn't have much choice but to either pull through or to sit on you. Right here, there's some separation. You're going to go into 1 to go. it's in the crosswind. You say here, oh, they should hurt too. Well, and I know you're going 430 something here. You need to actually probably get up, do a sprint, and actually a full on attack. This is just a right away. It's not enough. This other guy is doing he's doing good work for Mike Sayers. It's almost like he's a teammate back there, designating himself to third slash maybe fourth. We'll see on the day. And he's willing to not only pull you back, but to come through. So I think this one to go. I think that actually hurt Sayers a little bit there. He was trying to hold on. They were doing some work. So, Mark, you could have probably attacked in that section, gone, hard. And if you create some distance, you likely are going to hold them to the finish. If not, you've probably got enough where they're going to have to make a hard move to catch up to you. You kind of let it coagulate back into a group. Sayers, once again, takes the tailwind section. And why? Because he's almost a lap out. He'll do some work here. And then he wants to be able to recover on your wheel when he is in the slipstream and you are full on in the wind. Once again, Sayers doing 25 miles an hour here. Kind of skip up until, so you're still on. There you go. You take the lead. Now we're going to 26. And there's two guys from the field that are chasing behind. So 26, 27. Mark has no problem ramping 28, ramping 29, ramping up the speed, going into a hard headwind cross section here. He's probably going to hold the pace just as high. So he's doing a lot of good work for the two behind him. Once again, you got to understand, what is your goal for each of these riders? I think rider sandwiched in between here, his goal is, I've been off all day. If these guys fall, I've got a good chance. I'm probably not going to win in a sprint, but he's doing everything he can to stay on. And I think that's great. I mean, at least podium, get yourself some recognition and some reward for doing a lot of work on the day. However, Sayers and Mark Tucker, look at that, 30 miles an hour going into the final corner. You've been pulling for that whole back section. And now there's two people starting to catch up. Mike Sayers hits on the wind protection, although he does go on the wind side here and sit well because there's those two other riders there. Hits the gutter, and immediately he's gone. We don't show the front camera here, but I think he wins by 10 bike lengths. Got this gentleman that had been bridging up. See, there's a lot of strength here. 900 watts you're doing here, Mark Tucker. Once again, jump on the backside, make them bridge, and maybe you have a chance of getting the win, going all for none. You've won plenty of races in your day to go for it on that side. And once again, play to your strength. And that usually is the way to do it. Okay, so we're back. Now, sorry about that little abruption there. What I'm going to do now is share the screen and look at the Shaun Bagley clip here of the last lap of the race and see how close the field was actually getting. Now, he's on Super Dave's wheel, and he could have a little volume. I'm probably not going to be able to hear that. So they just went through that tailwind section, and I believe Bagley is leading out for his teammate, probably Bart. And so you can see up in the front, though, the Velo Kings are up there. Once again, I'll have to look at the results to see where everyone was. Grable maybe was had a good result here. So Bagley's having to go up the side. He's leading his guy out. He's getting him up to the front. You got the Velo Kings guy up here. You had one, I remember, be Jason Graffath over there, a Thirsty Bear. So Velo Kings are doing, and once again, this is what I'm saying about kind of leading into with Mark Tucker. So they're not going to get the field here or three off the front, and then the two extra guys in there that they made a breakaway. But Velo Kings had some riders there doing, for the sprint, so you don't have to be pulling. And once again, that's even what Sayers was probably thinking up there. He's got teammates behind you, do the work. But do you have to? Super Dave Cosell goes up, Velo Kings, I think that might be one of their guys, as well as Shaun Bagley's teammates finishing off the sprint. You can see that they did not catch the break. Well, there you have it. That, Mark Tucker, would be my suggestion of what could I have done. Race it to your strength rather than putting yourself into the position where you're actually racing to Mike Sayers' strengths. Mike definitely does work that he needed to. He bridged up. He did the smart thing there. Sayers is always thinking. Remember, he doesn't have teammates either, so you've got to think about it on that side. You had teammates behind. If you have a sprinter behind, then maybe you just don't have to do the work. He's telling you do. You don't have to listen to what he says. Think about what's best in your interest and do it from there. Um, Once again, his sprints, Sayer's biggest shot is his sprint and his ability to attack. You've seen how he won this race before the last time, even though he posted up early. Didn't see the front camera here, so we didn't see if we posted up early on this one. I don't think he did. But coming into the last corner, jumping early because he's not the best sprinter, but he's definitely a guy that can hold a long sprint. So he goes quick, takes you by surprise, he gets some separation, and then he holds that off. He would have done that here. He went from the corner and held off Mark Tucker quite easily. It looked like at that point Mark was trying to hold off third place in that instance. So once again, I would suggest Mark, maybe with a lap to go, you attack and you attack hard and you see what happens there, trying to get separation and going solo rather than put yourself. Now, if it was just you and that other guy, you have it, you and someone else, the mediocre, but you brought in the guy that won the field last time. You got it and brought in the guy that wins field sprints all the time in our Masters situation. That is not, you took him into the perfect thing. Look, as Mike Sayers comes in, he challenges John Novikov, any of these other Masters sprinters that we have, and he has a full field. You have 70 riders, 50 riders, and he will win out of that. So 1 out of 50, he's the best in that scenario in a field sprint. Often that happens. Put him in 1 out of 3, he's got, his chances are even better. I take myself, you give me a 1 out of 10, it depends on who it is. I have a really good chance as well. Put me in the field, your chances obviously diminish. You got all kinds of factors that play into it. He can go clean to the line, everything he wanted. And Mark Tucker kind of brought him into that place. I don't know, disappointing maybe for you, Mark. Not so much for Sayers or the guy behind, but we live and you learn. Okay, let's go real quick here. Let's actually do a little segment on some of the stages upcoming from the Giro, and then we will be done and out of here. And I'll get to go home and see if my daughter actually passes her driver's test. And I hope she does. Okay, let's share the screen. We got the Giro coming up Saturday, the 8th, TT. I think the first time, it's a little disappointing for me, but the first time you really have the significant climb, stage 4, well, I guess that's not too bad. Stage 4, you're going to get some good climbing going in here. Stage 6 on Thursday ends with a mountaintop. Otherwise, you've got some flat stuff. And let's take a look at the distances. 173, 87, 871, 50, 178, 173. Trying to see, okay, we finally get our first 200-kilometer day on a Thursday on stage 12. 197, 205 with a massive climb up to the Zoncolan. That's pretty tough climb there. 212, another 193. So you got some decent ones here, especially out in the mountains. I was going to see if they had any super short stages, like the 100-kilometer days or anything, tricky like that. You got a 140, but it's not a climby day. I like to see the short ones with a lot of kick to them. So we got one time trial here, starting off at 9 kilometers, fairly flat. This is going to, be for the power guys. Where's another time trial? Another time trial, the very finished day, 29.4 kilometers. So that to me is going to be somewhat of an interest due to the fact that you're ending on an almost 30-kilometer time trial. Now, granted, you go back to the 80s or even before there, they were doing 50, 60-kilometer time trials, even further than that. So that really wiped out the climbers. But it'll be interesting to see how that's going to shake itself out if you've got a rider that, Tao Geoghegan Hart as an example, much like last year, going against Jai Hindley, where you come into the last stage and it's just going to overwhelmingly be in favor of, you had that in the Giro a few years ago when Tom Dumoulin won, coming against Nairo Quintana. He was able to sweep him up. Ineos descending Bernal, Castroviejo, Filippo Ganna. Now, once again, Filippo Ganna lost a time trial a few weeks ago. Rob Dalton and I had talked about him winning, all the time trials. We'll have to add this up, go look back at a prediction and see how far off we were. Pavel Sivakov, he said he wouldn't be going to the Giro unless he was planning to win it. Once again, you do not see Tao Geoghegan Hart, so he is not going to be defending himself there. AG2R, I think you're getting, Larry Warbass is taken in there. No. Alpecin Phoenix. No one. Tim Miller. You're going to see him in the sprints. Andre Ciccone. I think they have a few riders, but we're not going to really talk about them. Astana going with Vlasov. You've got Sanchez. Otherwise, Izagiri, nothing too great there. Bahrain, we're gonna Mikel Landa has been fourth there. Pel Bilbao, he's been coming up and up on all those. Otherwise, as far as GC goes, nothing. Damiano Caruso, he can help out quite nicely. Bora, sending Peter Sagan, Bachmann, who else? Felix Gostschartner. So they have at least two guys for the GC, and then we'll see what Peter Sagan can do there. Viviani going in for Cofidis. Dakota Quickstep, bring in Evenepoel. He hasn't done any racing so far, so this will kind of be his lead up. I wouldn't expect much out of him, but you do have Jao Almeida, who was kind of the renaissance from last year. James Knox can help him on the climbs. Remy Cavagna, he's been quite deadly last few years, learning from his Tour of California escapades and kind of gets in the breakaway. Hugh Carthy, remember he was, I think, 11th here 2 years ago, and then last year he was, top 3 in the Vuelta. So he's coming back. TJ Van Garderen, did you know he was still racing? Yeah, he's still going to be there. Jonathan Caedo, Alberto Bettiol, Ruben Guerrero, Jens Kukler. By the way, EF, which I do like their jerseys here. Of course, they come into the Giro just like last year. They have to do a funny kit, a mix-up kit. I don't know why, but they're doing that. Groupama, Rudy Millard, Reichenbach. I don't really see anybody else I'd be too worried about there. Wanty Gobert. Let's keep going. Israel, Dan Martin is making his big move in this race. Patrick Bevan for them as well. Alessandro Dumarche, Alex Dowsett. Jumbo, sending George Bennett, but his support is Tobias Foss. Okay, Dylan Groenewegen. That's kind of the big news. Dylan Groenewegen coming out in there. There was some controversy. I guess that he and Fabio Jacobson met. They had kind of talked it out. He mentioned it. Hey, I don't want to say much about it, but we did meet, and we kind of spilled our hearts out. By the way, our lawyers were with us. And then Fabio comes out and says, "Oh, what's he talking about? He's talking about this situation. We weren't supposed to say anything. He hasn't even apologized to me personally." And I'm like, "Well, you were meeting with your attorneys. I don't know what it is over there in Europe, but apologies could be seen as a sign of guilt, and so there might be a liability issue there." And I know he reached out initially, and you said it's too early for me to hear anything from him. I don't know. It seems like a stupid controversy to keep going on about. Mark Soler, Zimny's one of his best looking riders of the year. He's going to be there for Movistar, as is the American Matteo Jorgensen. Team Bike Exchange, Simon Yates. I think he is one to watch. Definitely, he's been riding just a little bit different the last few years. Mikhail Nieve to help support him. Joel Jensen, Kangert, Meyer, Cameron Meyer, and Nick Schultz. You got a decent group there for him. Jai Hindley comes in second place last year for Team DSM. He's also bringing Roman Bardet. We haven't seen much out of him for several years. A little bit of a disappointment. Michael Storer, Nicholas Roach, Max Cantor, Chris Hamilton. Decent. And Chris Hamilton's been climbing walls as well. Nikias Arndt. Team Quebeca, Giancarlo Nizzolo on the sprint side. Victor Campenarts for showing his jersey and trying to get dates. I don't know if he does much else besides kind of race crazy. Domenico Pozzovivo for them. Max Walshed. Chuck Sigafredo, Vincenzo Nibali, Giancarlo Brambilla, and Giulio Ciccioni. Ciccioni got the mountain jersey here, I want to say 2019 also in the Tour de France a year, winning up the Planche. Did he win up Planche Velfi? I almost think he did, and took the yellow jersey for a moment there until the next day when Alaphilippe took it over. And in the UAE Emirates, you've got Davide Formulo, Joe Dombrowski, another American, Diego Luisi, Max Tricasi, Sebastian Milano, Fernando Gaviria. We'll see how he does in the sprints. Alessandro Convi and Valor Conti. So you're really looking at Formulo for the team lead there. And who knows what else you're going to have. Let's do one thing here to see if there's any news on Cycling News, and then we can head out for the weekend. And I hope you enjoyed a little bit of this. Philippa York's favorites. Okay, nothing there. Landa, Giro d'Italia could be my first Grand Tour win. Okay, buddy, you keep trying. He's always trying. Ghana gets all new Pinarello. Okay, that's interesting. Quebec Assets announces multi-year deal with Goodyear, hitter of the Giro. Froome hits back. Those that say I'm finished make me laugh. Well, okay. What is your proof to show that you're back at it? And Sam Bennett wins stage 3 of the Volta Algarve. It's been kind of boring for me lately. Hater for Ineos ended up winning the first stage there. And the second stage, the mountains there, and it wasn't all that impressive. I know Team Rally is out there racing that. Anyway, that's all we have today, folks. Hope you had a good one. Hope you enjoyed the little breakdown. Nothing against Mark Tucker, nothing against Sayers. You just said, what should I have done? I think what you should have done, because you are a beast, Mark Tucker, is attack on that last, make them chase. They're going to have to get up to you and then and do that. Use your strength, which is beast mode, against them. Always play to your strength rather than playing into something like Sayers, which happened. I don't know what you're going to do there. Sayers is a good sprinter and he's a smart rider, but you can be smart as well. And if you do, I think the chances are high of getting more wins. I'm just looking for a win. Anybody want to give me a win? All right, that's all we have today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 236. The Giro's coming up, one of my favorite races of the year. It's May. My birthday's in May. It's Italy. It's a great landscape, and looking forward to it. Take care.